One of the three pillars the world stands on is Gimilut Chasadim, to perform acts of kindness. And perhaps if there's someone we could take a lesson from on what it means to be generous, compassionate, gracious, there'll be no one better to learn from than from the letter Gimel. The Gimel, what kind of lesson can we take from the Gimel on what it means to be giving? Well, if we would take a look at the English alphabet, we can never explain why the A is next to the B or why the B is near the C, nor can we explain why it looks the way it does or why it's configured the way it is. But in the Hebrew alphabet, there's much depth and much wisdom behind every single letter, why this letter comes after that letter, or why that letter comes before this letter. Let's take, for instance, the letter Gimel. The Gemara tells us the letter Gimel comes from the word Gimul, as in Gimlut Chasadim, to perform acts of kindness. So the Gimel is like that little person approaching somebody with his two legs stationed firmly to the ground, and is stretching out his arm, extending it to give to somebody, to perform a chesed, to perform a kindness. But to be giving to someone, to be a giver, you need a receiver. So who's the next letter that comes after the Gimel? The letter Daled. The Daled is standing straight up and he has his arm stretched out because he's asking for help, he's asking for tzedakah. Hence, the letter Daled comes from the word Dal, which means poor. But look and pay attention how the Gimel approaches the Daled. He approaches him from the back as if he's running after him, when in truth the Daled should be running after the Gimel. Who's benefiting from who? It is the Gimel who's benefiting the Daled, and it's the Daled who's in need of the Gimel. Yet the Gimel doesn't want to make the Daled feel uncomfortable taking from him. So he's chasing the Daled to make him feel as if the Daled is doing a favor to the Gimel. And in this case, the Gimel is teaching us a fundamental lesson on what it means to perform a true kindness. But even more so, pay attention how the Daled has his back facing towards the Gimel. Because he doesn't want to be the one on the receiving end. It's all well to known, nobody wants to be on the receiving end. And the Daled is embarrassed receiving and taking from the Gimel. So he has his back face towards the Gimel because he's ashamed and embarrassed taking from him. And the Gimel understands that. So he approaches them with a certain sense of acknowledgement, with a certain sense of sensitivity, a certain sense of recognition, because he understands how difficult it is for the Daled to take from him. And so he approaches the Daled in a very sensitive way, in a very inconspicuous way, in a way that the Daled should feel comfortable accepting from him. So somebody once told me, now I understand there's a whole story playing itself out over here. The Gimel is teaching us and setting an example to us how to give a true kindness. But then he asked me, then why is it that the letter Hey comes right after the letter Daled? I understand why the Daled comes after the Gimel, because the Gimel is given to the Daled, but why is it that the Hey comes after the Daled? And I explained perhaps the reason is because the Hey stands for Hashem. And the Daled, although he's receiving from the Gimel, in the end of the day, he must turn his hand to Hashem because he knows that it is Hashem who is his true benefactor, and it is Borei Olam, the master of the universe, who could help him. And there's no one else, no doctors, no technology, nobody in this world could help us besides Hashem. And so we could take a beautiful lesson from the Gimel, the Daled, and the Hey. How to give, but at the end of the day, the taker should always understand that it's coming from Hashem. Perhaps this will be our spark of inspiration, how to perform a true chesed, a true kindness.